you applied that when you're analyzing the opponent, you then put together your tactics to counteract what they were going to do. Now, can you take us into the training of that? Was it done within more phase of play, opponents, lots of contextual stuff going on? Or were there higher percentages of isolated exercises, isolated patterns, no opponents type exercises within training?
Well, there's a few things. When you work in a club, each club has its own preference of how they're going to play, and you try not to chop and change for the teams. You might have a certain way to play against a 4-2-3-1 that is different playing against a 3-5-2. And you might have that clarity with your players, but every day you sort of train the preferences you have for football. So our preferences was light switch transitions, which is like counter pressing. So you turn on and off a light, that there's no reaction or delay in the reaction of the light coming on and off. We wanted that. We wanted to play with rotating between a back three and back four, so we'd work on that. We could work on that in a 7-a-side game. It wasn't so much. So we would spend probably four days a week when we had the 4 days training, just on development practice for individuals to play in the fundamentals of playing in our style and just referencing back. We had key communication. This would be the same in Liverpool or Chelsea. That would be light switch transition. When we get the ball back, get to 5, which is basically to regain rhythm. So if you're a pressing team, sometimes when you win the ball back, you're disorganised. So the idea is never to give away the ball in the first 5 passes. If you make that first 5 passes quickly, you might have scored within 3 or 4 or have a chance to score. But the idea is to get to 5. If you can't counter-attack, then it's get to 10, 15 and change the speed and rhythm of the game. It was almost a crime to give the ball away in the first 5 passes. These sort of things were themes that went through everything. Then the day before the game, you would zone in a little bit on the opponents. So basically, you talk about pressing victim. So pressing victim in terms of their best player, blocking the ball to him, and if he got the ball, everyone turning on the red light and him being a pressing victim. Certain situations in the game that you didn't want to occur and how you would stop them occurring. And then pressing victims, which you thought were maybe the weakest player in the opponent's team. So someone you would force the ball to, knowing you were going to get the ball back. These things were very specific for each game, although they were themes that you would touch on. But it wasn't as if we spent 3 or 4 days building into a game. We sort of coached our style silently in the background. It was like and then it was more individual work. This was the same as I worked at Chelsea and Liverpool. This is my style of working, and luckily, you know, our manager would allow me to sort of plan most of the day's training, and then the day before the game, he would go off and do his big tactical thing. And in the way that he wanted, because he was the manager. But my style of working is very sort of, come on, what are our preferences? What are our sort of like our Bible of playing football, if you like? And we're going to work on that every day. And that doesn't have to be 11v11. It could be 5v5, 6v6, can be unopposed work. But it's very specific to the players we have, which is hence why it was a little bit difficult, because you build a team based on the players you have. I didn't go into Sao Paulo or any team saying, right, we're going to play 3-5-2 or 4-3-3. You have to look at the players you have. Your set of preferences for playing football stays, a bit like your rules for life. They stay, but then you pick a team or an organisation for the players you have available. What kept happening was we would sell a player and didn't have a player to replace him. So then the fit was different. So for me, that was it was an interesting time. It was an interesting time, but at the same time, an amazing time. I miss it already, you know. But then I think if you don't miss a football club, then you didn't put your heart and soul into it. So it doesn't have to have been the perfect situation, but you build relationships. And I felt that, especially with the younger players that we brought from the academy to the first team, that the relationships I'd built, I didn't want that journey to end so soon. So that's the part that I regret.